Hi there, this is Kellyanne with Church Windows. I'm the presenter for today's webinar. We're going to go ahead and get started. Get rid of the presentation on screen and bring up Church Windows. Today we're looking at membership at the People screen at the Family tab. So we're just going to be looking at one small section of the actual membership screen. Let me go ahead and open up membership. So if you missed that, I did that just by clicking on membership on the opening screen. I'll maximize it here. A few quick things before we start. If it's your first time using GoToWebinar, you have a toolbar and on the sides a little orange reddish arrow. If you click on that, it will minimize it so it's not blocking what I'm showing you. But I have everybody muted because there's a question panel. If you have questions, Rachel's in the room to help answer questions. You might want to hold off until the end because I might answer your question as I work through the material. But if you need to open your panel back up to access your question panel, just click on that little red arrow and that will open it back up and you can type questions in the question panel. What I am showing today is actually, I'm going to be using one of our workbooks. You don't need the workbook to follow along or understand what I'm showing you, but if you own the workbooks or want to purchase them, it's coming from on our website beginning. If you go to training workbooks, you see all the different workbooks here. What I am taking this from is Membership 101, and we are looking at the People screen, right about here, People screen, blank data entry form, categories, adding a family, and the Family Records tab. So let me go ahead, I'll close that. I'll show that to you again at the end of the webinar. Let's go ahead now and open up Church Windows and membership. The material from M101 that I'm looking at is from the newest book. If you have older books prior to when members and visitors became people, it's not going to match up. So let's go ahead and take a look. If I click on people, make sure I'm not muted on any of my buttons. I see my audio going. I took all my mute buttons off. All right. So here we are. We are at the People screen, and this is where you see all your records that you enter into membership. I can access that by clicking on People right in the middle, the shortcut, or I can go up in the upper left to People, and under that People takes me to the same screen, my People screen. Before you start entering people into the screen, there's one thing that we recommend you might want to do. If we go up to Reports Export along the top and then click on Other, we have a blank data entry form. You can see at the bottom of page 9 how you access that. And if you flip to 10, you see the image we see on screen. When you go to the blank data entry form, it just brings up a little window where I can choose the layout that comes with the program. Let's just take a look at that. And it's just a blank form with some of the most basic things you put on the records. You can hand that out and have your congregation fill that in so you have that information on hand. If you need to create a different data entry form, blank data entry form, we can click on Edit. Now if we click Edit, that just goes into Layout. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to click that because you can't really do too much in there with the blank data entry form. But if I click on Select Fields, it will not let you overwrite the template, so I can create a new report, call it My Blank Data Entry. Click OK, and that brings up then the column selector. Now I also could click the button New on that little window instead of Select Fields, but I wanted you to see what happens there. So here you could choose the columns you want to add. What I see on the left side are my different fields that are on the people, on the records. I can choose from any of those fields. I can use the search box just above it to search for a field if I want to add something. Double click to move it over. And here on the right, we see our visible columns, or what will appear on that blank data entry form. So some different things here for that form. We're not going to go into a lot of detail there because I really want to show you the actual family tab. But if you need help with this, give us a call. It's a great form to hand out. And like I said, you can adjust it to show just what you want to see or what you want to collect from your congregation. And also one more thing on this I didn't mention. little checkbox here, you can include your list fields, and those are any of these fields we see behind here that have a little arrow, and that's a list where you can only choose one item. If we want those to print on the form, here we can see the phone number, whether it's unlisted, a yes or no. So we see some of our list fields. Let me go ahead, I'm going to close this now, and let's look at, if you're following along in the book, page 12, how we add families. First thing that comes up when we add a family is the category. So that's what we're going to talk about first. Categories that come with the program are members and visitors, and if you converted from an older module, older version, where members and visitors were two separate databases and now they've merged into people, those two databases now became categories. You can see in the lower left, we can see which categories we're currently viewing. Let me get my spotlight tool here. So lower left, we see we're showing our members and our visitors. Up at the top left, what we're looking at today is basically the left side, the family information. At the top of that, though, we can see how we can filter by categories, or we can actually see the specific family we're looking at right now, their category. Now, if we want to change those to filter, maybe we just want to see our visitors, we can click the little arrow here, and that shows us the different categories we've made. I can uncheck members and now click show those selected. And if we look in the lower left, it tells us now we're only showing our visitors. So if I scroll through my records here, all I'm going to see, if I look at the top where it says visitor, that's all I see is my visitor categories. If I want to change that, I can go back and check members. And now lower left, we see we are showing both our members and our visitors. Now, if you'd like, you can create other categories. We can do that by, at the end of where it says this family's category, we have a little pencil icon and a plus and a minus. If we click on that, that shows our current category, family category codes that we've created. And at the top, we can create a new code if we want. Maybe we have a lot of duplicate records, so we want to move those to a category called duplicate. I put in the code that I'd like for it, the description, and click add. Oops, and it tells me D is a reserved code for donation. So I can't use that because you can opt to show a D for your donation people or a V for our visitor code. We can show our different category codes after people's names. So we don't want to use D. Maybe we'll call it DU. Oops, no, we can only have one letter. So we'll use an X. Click add. And now we have a new category code. And we just click close to remove that or remove the box. If we want to remove a code, we just hit the minus at the end of the line to delete it. Let's go ahead and look, though, at page 14, how we actually add a family. Because the first thing now it's going to ask when we add one is the family code. So to add a family, upper left, we just click Add Family. And the first thing it asks is, what category code will this family be? As soon as I select that, it will let me move on to adding the family. Let's go ahead and look at the actual different items for the family. Across the top left, we see under the families category, we have 5 different tabs for our family. We have Ms. Nina Abidshine, and this first tab will show the family name or whatever you put in the mailing label. We have a family info tab, comments tab, photo, and other. And we're going to take a look at all of these. So let's go back to the first tab. On the first tab, just underneath the actual family name, we see the family number. The family number is assigned by the system. As you keep adding more people, it will keep adding more numbers. Now, numbers that are these 5-digit numbers that either start with a 0 or a 9, those carried over from the older program. So if you had an older version, you'll see larger numbers, but new ones will start with 1 and keep moving on. If we want to make a family inactive, we can do that really easily. Let's save here. I must have moved around and changed something. To make some family inactive, making someone inactive removes them from reports, lists, and labels, just about anything, unless you check off, there's a little checkbox to include inactive people. If you check that, then inactive people can appear on reports. In prior versions, this was called reason for termination. We have an easy button, though, if you have a large family. Let me move to a bigger family. with no deceased people in it. Here we go. The Bernards, maybe they're moving away. So we need to make them inactive. We can do that. We have an easy button for making a whole family inactive now. We just click Make Family Inactive. That brings up a little window where first I need to choose the inactive reason. So we can say they transferred to another denomination. It's going to go ahead and fill in today's date. If I want to choose a different date, maybe that was yesterday, I can just select it there and then click OK. And now if we look, we see all the Bernard family over on the left show in red. If I click the drop-down list here, we can see in red are inactive people as well. And on each of the tabs of the individuals, we also see that it's red and it shows the word inactive, letting us know at a glance that while we're retaining the records, this allows us to retain the records, but have this person or family not show up on lists and labels and reports. Now, if I want to delete an inactive reason, I can do that. Let me go ahead. I'm going to click on the little pencil over here. When we have the maintained box up, we can add new ones by same way you saw me add the codes before. For the categories, we add a code and description. If we want to delete it, a little different here. When I press to delete it, if it's a code or description that's already in use, then it's going to ask, do I want to delete this and replace it with something else? Do I want to mark everyone who has this as active and remove this, or do I want to cancel? So when you delete inactive reasons, you get a little window where you have a few choices there you have to choose from. If you're questioning those, give us a call. We can discuss it in a little more detail. But you do have some different options there, so you're not just going to delete a code from a person who already has it. You have an option to delete it or to add something different rather than that one that you're deleting. All right. Now, I got a little ahead of myself. At the top of 17, it mentions how when I mark a family inactive, we can see each of them. It shows family inactive on the family tab, and then each individual it shows in red and that they're inactive. And if you look over to the right where it shows inactive, as I click on each person, we can see it added that same reason and date to each individual in the family. So that make family inactive, if the entire family is leaving the church, that's a nice easy button. Saves you some time from having to mark each person with a reason and a date. It does it for everybody in the family with just a few clicks. All right. Let's move on down the line on the left side on the Family tab. The next thing you have is the mailing label. And the mailing label is typically how people want their mail to come to them. Mr. and Mrs. Joe Smith. Here we have Mr. and Mrs. Evan Bernard. So it's not the actual individual person's name, but how the family, if the mail's going to the family, how do they want that mail addressed? That's typically what you're going to type in the mailing label. To add an address, let me go ahead and I'll just add myself here. So I'll be a member. We'll put just me in the house. So I type my name in. To add my address, I'm going to click the little plus sign here. And that brings up a little window where I can go ahead and put in my regular address. Whoops, want it capitalized, Anywhere Street. And tab down to, now the system, I've in my settings already told it to go ahead and fill in my church, zip code, city, and state, which can save time. So that's where I live. I'm going to leave it there. If I wanted to, I could click just in the fields and change those. If you have alternate addresses for your family, tell it no, I don't want it to look up my zip code. If you have alternate addresses where the entire family picks up and takes off for a month or two, I can fill those in here as well. I can have up to 3. We're just going to fill in the main family address here. If I want this address to override and be used for statements, I can put a little check here to indicate that as well. But we're just going to use this right now and click OK. Oh, and I did forget to mention one thing here. If we need to edit that, I can just click the little pencil at the end of the line. Or if I want to delete it, I can hit the minus. Let's hit the little pencil here. And I forgot to mention, there is a tab here if you're doing bulk mail. there's a tab here for some bulk mail information that you might need to fill in. All right. Let's look, and then top of page 18, I'm not saying turn the page if you're following along, top of 18 mentions the family alternate addresses. One thing I didn't mention, trying to cover a lot of material in a little bit of time here, is effective dates. If you're putting an alternate address, the system looks at those alternate or the effective dates to know when to put the alternate address on a mailing label or a report or such. So those effective dates are really important for the program to know when to use that alternate address. All right. The next thing we have is the phone number. So we just type that in. No slashes or dashes. And then once I hit save, oops, go ahead and add, I don't want to add an individual yet. We're still on this tab. Once I wanted to see when I hit save, it goes ahead and puts in my parentheses and my dash. So you don't need to put any slashes or dashes in with the phone number. It does that for you. Let's go ahead now and look at the family info. Oops, I forgot one thing down at the very bottom of 18, the family information, that where we see the family members, those start showing as we actually add individuals or the right side of the record, which I'm not going to go into that part today. But just below the phone number, once I start adding individuals, that's when we will start seeing individual names like we could see on some of the, here, let me hit back here and we'll see on the peaks we see down in the lower left as I add individual records on the right. That is what fills in the individual here on the left. And if I put a birth date or family relation, it fills that in as well. Let me go back to my record here that I just added. All right, so let's look at now the actual family info tab. The family info tab, page 19, is where some of the things that you were used to seeing on the left side, they move to a tab. If you're used to the older module, we can put an alternate phone here. That would be for the family, not like an alternate address, but just an alternate phone for the family if needed. Mailing code, this is typically how you determine what mail you're going to create or how you're going to pull labels. Most churches will create different mailing codes and based on those mailing codes create their labels. This is a list field where I can click the little pencil icon at the end of the line and add or delete or select my code. I can select the code directly from here and say all mailings, click select item. Or you can click the drop-down list, the little drop-down arrow, and choose your code that way. So either way works. Same for geographic area. Here we're using it to denote what part of town they're in. These fields can be renamed though if you choose to. Last update, that is filled in by the program and it indicates when the family record, this side, the family side, was last updated or changed. If we had a login for this computer, which we don't to make it easy for training, it would actually say the login name of who last updated this. The date created is obviously filled in by the program and that's when it was created. And again, if I had a login on this computer, then it would tell me who actually created this record as well. So that's really nice. All right, let's look at, now my name is so long, notice I have arrows here to see all my tabs because my name pushed those tabs across to where we can't see them all unless I have the little arrows. Comments, we can enter any comments we like for the family here. And this would be, again, for the family. There's comments for individuals. These would apply to the family, I would think. Photo, if you would like to store photos and then even create a photo directory, we can do that. We simply click on Add Picture. And I don't know if I have any pictures here. I'll go ahead and make myself a hydrangea. Oh, I like a koala bear. I will be a koala. So we just find our photo on our computer. So here again, I just clicked Add Picture, and it shows me the contents of my computer where I can go ahead and go to my pictures, find the proper picture, and add that to the family's record if I like. If you want to clear the picture, you just click Clear Picture. And then we have the other tab. Last but not least, this is a really nice feature. This day and age, we have families where children are children of divorce, or they go they spend time with grandparents' house versus parents' house, so they have multiple households possibly. We can link children to different households. So perhaps I have a child who comes to visit me and I need to link that child to me. So if I need to do that, I can go to the other tab and I would say link another child to this family. So now I'm going to look for the child. We'll say Crystal Morris. And then I just click on link child to family and then close. And now if I go back to my main tab, Miss Kellyanne, we see Crystal Morris. We do not see me as an individual in here yet because I have not made me as an individual. But we do see Crystal Morris is associated with my house. And the A for associated. To see the primary household, I can click on this little house. And that takes me to Mr. and Mrs. Scott Morris. Maybe Scott was my ex-husband. He's remarried, and that's my daughter. She's coming to visit. So if I click on P for primary, that now shows that child is linked to both my house and to the Morris household as well. All right. So that, as I like to call it, was a whirlwind tour of the family side of the records. That is everything I wanted to show you today. So are there questions? I think Rachel's been answering them pretty well. But if you have any questions, if you need to exit, then go ahead and just click the X on your GoToWebinar toolbar, and that will close the session for you. If you have a question, though, go ahead and open up that question panel, and I will read them out loud and answer them for everyone. And you're welcome. People are saying thank you for your help. You're very welcome. I was a little frazzled this morning because normally the webinars are at 1, and Monday is my 10 a.m. morning. I work 10 to 6, and I knew I had a webinar, but I didn't realize it was at 11. And about 10:20, I was like, oh, panic mode. But I know the family side of the screen. I see it every day at work. So somebody said, how do you put a photo in if we are on the web version of Church Windows? Well, those would still be saved to your computer. Actually, I think that'd be something easier. Really, if you want help with putting photos into your Church Windows when you're on the web, I can't show that here. So that'd be best for you to call in. We're not connected to a web or anything like that, so it's really, I can't even show you here. But definitely, if you are on the cloud or Church Windows web and you want to put photos onto your records, please give us a call. We can help you with that, okay? Somebody said you have a member and the spouse is not a member. It's up to you what category you want to put them in. Oftentimes when there's a mixed family of members versus non-members, people will use the status code field to indicate who's a member versus who is not. But we didn't really talk about the individual records. We're more talking about, families. So whether you put that family in members or visitors or which category is entirely up to you. We have no rules about that. Could I go over the delete process? Deleting a field. I mean, if I want to delete a list code, or I can hit delete here for deleting address. It asks if I want to delete it. I can say yes. If you mean like list code fields, again, I just hit minus. It will ask if I want to delete it. And it's going to, for this one, it's going to clear it from all the records. Not sure what you were referring to deleting. So somebody asked, how can you change the category of an individual? And I don't think I mentioned that. It's really easy. It's a good question because I've gotten it on the phone a lot, and it's so easy. You'll be going, oh, duh. You just right up here at the top. If I want to suddenly become a visitor, there you go. I am now a visitor record. That's it. All I do, well, I change the Morris family to visitors or members. But if I want to change the Morris family, there we go. We'll change them to visitors. I think it jumped over to my family. That was a little odd. All right. Are there more questions? I'm looking, let me. All right, I think I've answered all of them. So get those questions in. Said I would be going over editing and deleting the family record. I'm sorry, topic I looked at was the people screen and families. Sure, to delete a family, all I do is click delete family. If they have giving, I can't delete it, and it will pop up a big message telling me that. I can mark them inactive. Let me find my record because I can delete me. Oops. So used to right-clicking on next to go to the last one, but I'm alphabetic, so I wouldn't be the last. If I want to delete a record that has no giving, as I just entered mine, I can read this message, make sure I really want to delete it. I know I don't have giving, and the program would stop me if I didn't, so I can just say yes, and there we go. We've deleted that record. Someone said, what if an individual in a family has a different category? You can't have a family with different categories. The family, it is a family category. You could have people with different status codes within a family. So that's why I recommend, pick your family's category, whether they're more member, more visitor, and that's up to you. What means member versus visitor to your church. Once you pick that family category, you can always change it. But I would then use, if you have a mix of some members and some visitors, create different status codes for each individual to indicate, if they're actual member or visitor of the church. But you can't have a mix of different family categories in one family. The family category is one thing. You can only assign a family one category. If you want to you could create a family category called member and visitor. But I would, put them in either member or visitor category and use status code. Is there a different code for UMC status, or is that part of the status code? I know if you have an older version of the program, older versions, we did have denominational versions where you may have had a UMC church school status or something similar to that. If you have, that and a status code field, then you can decide, which one of those you want to use. UMC status is a different field than actual status code fields, so they are totally separate fields. Which one you prefer to use, or if you only want to use one or both, that's entirely up to you. Are you getting that the program is very flexible? So it's really up to your church, because different churches have different rules about how things need to be in their data and what they need to keep records on and track. So the program's really flexible. If it's not working for you though, and if you're not sure about something, definitely give us a call. All right. Someone asked, will the UMC status code stay in our version even when we upgrade the latest Church Windows version? Yes, the fields you have in your version remain in your version. Unless, we did change the reason for termination field. That, I don't even remember which version, but with one of the recent versions over the past year or two, that changed to become a field called inactive. But that's the only time I've ever seen an actual field get completely changed to a different name by the program. Typically, all your fields that you have in your program, those just roll over from one version to the next, because you can create and customize and make your own fields. Okay, somebody said, can I go over the delete process? Oh, she just left. Okay. I missed that. Okay. Well, we have gone about 10 minutes over, so I am going to go ahead and end today's webinar. Thank you all so much for attending. If you have any further questions or something that, was a different topic I wasn't able to answer for you a little more in depth, definitely email support@churchwindows.com or give us a call at 1-800-533-5227, and have a great day. Thanks. Bye.